Shortly after the tribunal verdict, but don't they flower pandano, people don't they disagree to the judgment where they give. In fact, they say this is really biased judgment, 100% bias. The whole thing, it don't clear, say man, it favor one party more than others. Right now, lawyers, people will be say they understand the law, they can't they talk, say it they very highly suspicious, say Bola Tinubu travel to India on the eve of the judgment because no one day around say everything already settled. So one or two things is coming together and the whole picture is becoming really really clear. One fact remain: if INEC na the sole independent company wey be say dem fit take any decision wey they like without the IREF of the portal or whatever they call am, why they go allow Nigerians go through that rigorous voting and waiting for the tribunal before they fit give the verdict wey they already plan years before today. Right now, there's another controversy wey be say why they go spend so much money, why the federal government go spend so much money on the INEC for the preparation of the election, wey we know say is an independent body that can take decision anytime they like. Right now, it's crystal clear that neither Peter Obi nor Atiku can be president of Nigeria. This is obvious because Bola Ahmed Tinubu boys, it's everywhere. You turn left, now boys. You turn right, now everywhere you go, now boys. Internationally, now boys. Now full everywhere. There are people who are loyal to him, who will remain like until they die. They will be loyal to him. So there is no way in this corrupt system, there is no way you will fight this government that is already in existence, that is already sitting. There will, whether you go through tribunal, you go through and Supreme Court, or there is no way you can fight him. Even the people that are even smiling, they smile, give you say, yeah, they are in support with you and they love you. Yes, go, go, go. Is a lie. They are just collecting information from you to go and give their oga pata pata at the top. So if you look at all this whole thing, there is no difference between this government and the so-called military. And that is why you see say military will also one take over. That's why the coup d'etat they happen. So when they take over, they will not see military they enter. Now one person they take the decision. Because this is not democracy, actually. Because your vote and my vote is not counting. If you like, you not decide, not make you not vote again. In fact, who one win? It's already recorded since 1998. It has been said that Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be the one I turn. He said, in fact, I turn. So what are we not trying to say here? The fact is that the only way justice can happen in Nigeria is to eradicate these so-called shambolic people. We be said don't already take control of this government. Otherwise, we'll just keep rounding the bush, going round and round and round. That is just the truth. Because it's so obvious that nothing you and I can do. We fit shout, we fit talk, we fit do anything we want to. But the truth, let the truth be said, there is nothing we can do. You can't fight this system. It's too corrupt. And that is why you see I'm saying, as this man already sit down, there are people who are ready, as I said before, ready to lay down their lives for him, to collect information from one place to another, to go and give him. Your opinion do not matter. Whatever you say do not matter. Even the lawyers who get their opinion do not matter. There is nothing like law because they are the law. It's simple, clear.
Let's talk about yesterday's judgment and how it turned out. Were there any surprises for you, even though we knew that this matter was in court and there were certain expectations? You show your support for Mr. Peter Obi, and I don't know if you expected that he was going to win the court judgment yesterday or that things were going to turn out as they did.
So at the court yesterday, I wasn't surprised because we've had a trailer. So it's like we had a movie yesterday, but there was a trailer before that movie. And that trailer was the one that was done by our former Supreme Court Justice, Mary Odili. So by the time we saw that whole speech she had made, how she was praising the council to, I think it's Tinubu, APC. I don't know which one is it for sure. And she was praising him and all of that. So for me personally, I already knew, okay, this was already done with. So yesterday at the just hearing the justices reading out all the things they were reading out, I really wasn't surprised because we've already seen the trailer to the movie.
Yeah, well, let's look into some of the details, and some of the rulings that were given. Of course, Kashim Shettima ruling was one of the earliest ones, saying that his double nomination, of course, that case was also, struck out. Apparently it was said that it wasn't done intentionally or something like that. There was also the 25%, Abuja, which of course was a major talking point in the months, post-election. There's also people who said that, if previous Supreme Court rulings have already settled that, so it really shouldn't have come up again, amongst other things. So which of them for you was, maybe surprising, the way that the ruling came or was given?
Okay, so there was a 25%. Let me start with the 25% FCT, and of course, it's something that had to do with interpretation, the constitutional interpretation. And I think listening to the ruling was the fact that, look, the Constitution is a living document, and that you just sit down and you look at the words, and you have to think of the future generation. I think just trying to paraphrase what they said, which fantastic, that's okay to me. But what was surprising was that the kind of energy that was deployed when they were talking about 25% FCT was not the kind of energy that was deployed when it came to the forfeiture of the, is it $460,000 dollars, because that was also a constitutional interpretation, and it was so the way the justice just sort of like the ruling just went off. The court was like glib about it. Oh, okay, this is not an issue. This is what the Constitution says. Let's move on and everything. And then you didn't see that energy when it came to 25% FCT. That was when sitting down, they would say that, oh, we have to look at this. Yes, when it comes to judicial interpretation, there are always different rulings on it, and then it depends on the judges to be able to choose the one that they want to do. And I think looking at the 25%, I could see they were like, okay, they were looking at sort of like the purposive approach was what they used. But in terms of the other one, we didn't see that also, to be able to say this is like a living document. On the issue of Kashim Shettima's double nomination, I think part of the things that were said was that, is it pre-election matters? One, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not standing in for anybody. I'm speaking for myself as a citizen, as an active Nigerian citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the lawyers will come and do their own bit. But what I saw was the fact that, and what I heard yesterday at the tribunal was the fact that, oh, this double nomination is the business of the party. It's like pre-election matter. It's supposed to be the business of the party. You shouldn't come and be interfering in what they do. But how does that even make sense? Yes, I agree. I think there was an earlier ruling on that. I agree, before the election, it wasn't the business of the other candidate. It was that of within the party, if anybody decides that, oh, there was a double nomination or not. But the moment there was an election, then that means that he had put himself in a race with other people. Then it becomes the business also of other parties to be able to say, hey, there was a double nomination here. There shouldn't have been a double nomination. So it goes beyond party affairs the moment that you put yourself on the ballot paper and you're running with other people.
All right. As an active Nigerian citizen, how do you sense that the general populace accepted this judgment? And where do you think that Nigerians are going from here, the Nigerian citizens who may have been displeased about this? We hear that the Labour Party has, of course, rejected this judgment. Where do you see Nigerians going from here? Some of the reactions that I have seen on social media are people who are now advocating for relocation, mass migration. You know, we're seeing a lot of conversations about Jackma. So from your perspective, how do you sense Nigerians are handling this, and where do you see Nigerians going from here?
I don't think I'll be in a position at this moment to be able to say the way Nigerians are handling this, because I was in court for, I think, over 13 hours yesterday at the tribunal, and then I came in. I've slept, woken up, and I'm doing this right now. Yes, I've seen some of the comments on social media. But I'm going to talk about, let me even talk about myself and the judiciary. The first thing that I'm going to talk about, before I even talk about the JAPA issue and all of that, is the fact that, you know, the judiciary is supposed to be the last resort of the common man. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, the judiciary has become the plaything of corrupt politicians. And I say that with all sense of responsibility. And I've been saying that even before now. And it's one thing. That's why you see arrogantly that the politicians will, you know, rig election, do all sorts of things, kill, maim, get into office, and then arrogantly say to you, go to court. It's almost as if, okay, we own that place, just go there and do whatever it is that you're going to do. And sitting down yesterday at the tribunal, I think I sort of like got that reinforcement that says, hey, whatever you need to do, if you really want to get this, if you really want to get into office, go in there, you know, rig election, kill people, whatever it is, ensure that you are declared. That was why we even saw, I think it was Adamawa State, where literally almost sort of like so people came. It was this, and I can't remember the whole the correct designation of the person who came to just announce a gubernatorial election and a win, and sort of like, irrespective, just getting to declare and then go to court and get it. So let me, sitting down there, and for those who listen to the judgment, just hearing the justices that are supposed to be unbiased, talking about gleefully and happily, telling us that, oh, you think you can just come in here and be able to you know, I could try to get the right words they use, but in my own English, you think you can just come in here and be able to prove that election was rigged? You think it's that easy? You think it's drinking coffee? And you could see the way the justices were they were almost like counsels to the respondents, and there was this anger, there was this seated anger from them, because we could see their faces, even though they had hidden their faces from Nigerians. You could see the anger coming from them when they were talking about the petitioners, and saying, how dare you bring your petition to before us? And I'm thinking, why do you have a job? Is it not for people to bring in the petitions and people that are aggrieved to be able to come? If we didn't have people being aggrieved, if you can't go, why do we have the courts? There's no need for the courts. So yesterday, it's that reinforcement of that corrupt politics, of rigging, of do whatever it takes for you to be declared. That's all that matters. And then when you get declared, the court is going to be there and just pat your back. And even in all the statements, you see, when it came to the respondents, you could see how the almost like the justices were sort of like on their side. And I think there was one of them who said, do you think we are going to go to market and get evidence? No. Nobody expected you to go to market and go and get evidence, but you were expected to be unbiased. You were not expected for your body language to be gleeful, for you to have ecstasy, for you to be on top of the moon when you were talking about the respondents, and then for you to be angry, for you to be coming at those when you're talking about the petitioners. No, that's not what justice is all about. Just because you know you're going to be in a court where people are going to be saying, oh, as the court pleases, at the court, I'm looking forward to one day when it's no longer that, oh, as the court pleases, but something like, oh, if that's what justice it's all about. And this is not, and for the things about Nigerians, and I'm going to say this is not about whether, oh, the person I supported was the one that was declared winner, or as a petitioner, his ruling, this thing was thrown out and all of that. No, that's not the issue. The issue is about the process. And I remember in 2016, when Buhari's government went after judges, corrupt judges, as he had said, and arrested them, the manner in which it was done, I was strongly against that. I said no, because process matters. The rule of law matters in everything that you're doing. Even if it favors you today, it doesn't mean that you break the rule of law. You must ensure there's rule of law. You must ensure everything is done within the ambit of the law. You must ensure that the processes are followed the way they're supposed to be followed. And I keep taking, and I know a lot of Nigerians were happy. They were supporting, like, okay, yes, we have too many corrupt judges. I said, but that's not the way to do it. And this is what we're talking about today. There are so many things, even when it comes to INEC. Imagine a court that had given orders for INEC to bring in their materials. The INEC refuses to do that. I think INEC, they were subpoenaed, they weren't getting the whole coming out. Yesterday was the first time that I was at the tribunal, because I was out of the country for 5 months, and I came a day after the tribunal, this thing had ended. But I knew I followed some of those conversations, and INEC were called in, and you could see the ruling, the justices, gleefully saying to us, saying to Nigerians and all of us that, oh, do you think that any political party that wants to run for office must ensure that they have their own materials, they have their own resources. They should not depend on INEC. The same INEC that you had said should give access to these lawyers and they were being denied. The same INEC that you have given them orders and they have refused to obey you, and you're not seeing that as disrespect on the court. You're not seeing that when you make certain pronouncements, when you give certain orders, these orders are not being followed by the executive. You don't see that. That really is surprising, because but I will round up here because I'm sure there are a lot of questions that you want to ask me, and there are a lot of things that I need to say also. I will round up here to say that, look, the judiciary, Nigerian judiciary, is the one that is actually on trial, and it's left for them to let justice be seen. And one other thing, quickly let me add, is the fact that they decided to go live when they were going to give their judgment. The same people who didn't go live when they were bringing evidences before them. So they could say, oh, well, you didn't give, there's no evidence here, there's no this here, there's no this, that, because they're going to have a bunch of people that are going to be saying, as the court pleases, right? And so, but if they really wanted transparency, now they're trying to look at it, they're transparent, which is not even that, because they were too afraid to show their faces before Nigeria and before the world, and they asked the media people not to show their faces and be showing those that were listening to them. They should have ensured that there was transparency, there was openness, there was live transmission, so that everybody will be able to see this same evidence that they say had not been given to them. Let people see the process, because of course they didn't get to do that.
All right, it's a whole lot, to unpack, from yesterday, and I did see you, on television all through. It felt like the longest day ever for Nigerians. But I want to know what you think should happen next. There's doubts as to whether the Labour Party should approach the Supreme Court or not. Whether, of course, it's candidate Peter Obi should approach the Supreme Court, or just let it go at this point. What would you think should be the next steps that should be taken? Do you trust that the Supreme Court might maybe interpret things different, even if there's there's a lot of people who believe that the current judgment is fair, and there's nothing wrong with it?
Oh, sure. There are people who believe that people being killed during election is fair. There are people who believe that elections being rigged is fair. There are people who believe that it doesn't matter how many people are killed as long as somebody gets into office. So that's okay. For those who see the judgment as fair, it's their own personal opinion, and they're very much welcome to it. When you talk about trusting the judiciary, even before this ruling, even before going to court, when Nigerians talk about the judiciary, I say I don't have any business trusting the Nigerian judiciary. I don't trust the Nigerian judiciary. The only thing is to overwhelm them with evidence. That's still my take. And yes, Labour Party should go to the Supreme Court. Yes, Peter Obi should go to the Supreme Court. Mr. Peter Obi is a fighter. If I can just say that, like someone who has closely worked with him throughout the campaign and this whole period, he's a fighter. So we've seen it. We've seen his antecedent. Anambra, nobody expected it was going to happen, and it did happen. One of the things we must understand is that systems must be tried, and no matter how bad it is, no matter how difficult it is, don't give up. Good must be more tenacious than evil. Most of the time, people just feel that, please. Also, I just see you put my quote. Please put it in full, because if you just say I don't trust the Nigerian judiciary, it doesn't make it. I don't trust the Nigerian judiciary. All I want is to overwhelm them with evidence. I think so that people get the full picture of that whole thing. Like I was saying, good must be more tenacious than evil. People feel that, I'm doing the right thing, and then we've been fighting for this. I'm going to give up, and I will move on. Move on to where? Where are you going to? If the people who are not doing this country well are not giving up, what business do you have giving up? And there's one example I always give. I always give the example of Muhammadu Buhari. He spent 12 years, every year running for office. He went to the judiciary. And that's one thing you can't take away from Muhammadu Buhari, his vindictiveness. The way he would go after everything. And when he came in 2016, he really went after those judges. But the way and manner in which it was done, it wasn't the right way. Anything that has to be done must be done within the ambit of the rule of law. And he never won. And he stayed on. And you must give him that 12 years. He kept consistently coming. And at the end of the day, he got him office to give us our disastrous leadership. Today it's not a conversation about Muhammad Buhari, but things must when reference. Things have to be referenced, and we have to reference that. So having said that is to say that for those, there are people who will feel they want to give up. Absolutely, it's a personal choice, whatever anybody wants to do. I've been there before. 1993, that was the first time I could vote. I was 18 years old, and then I voted, and the elections was cancelled, and I didn't vote again until 2011. And so I was angry. It took me 18 years for me to be able to. So I understand that whole feeling. But the thing is that the process we must go on, even if when you see that, there is so much against you, don't just give in, because when you do that, you self-defeat yourself. We must challenge the process. We must go on. We must see this thing. And I think one of the things that Nigerians are not saying is that an amazing thing happened. There was a revolution with the 2023 election. Many people, you had people in their 70s who had never voted, who were voting for the first time. You have citizens engaged. People say that, there can never be a third party coming up. People say that, you guys, you can't do anything. 4 people tweeting in a room. At the end of the day, they had no option but to give over 6 million votes. And, one of the things that must happen is that people must look at the little wins. And while there's a setback is for you to consolidate and keep going. In the meantime, look at those little wins. What are the things that have happened? There's a governor somewhere. There are 8 senators somewhere. There are about 30-something House of Rep members, 70-something state houses of assembly members. And you begin to look at 2 years ago, that was an impossible. People would have said this is impossible, but you were able to remove the IM. So this is not the time to give up. This is the time to keep going. And the thing is that if you look at all of these things were done within the space of about 10 months. So if you put in 1 more year, 2 years, a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 5 decades, we're going to get that Nigeria that we are looking for. Politics. It's how you get people elected into office, and every one of us must be engaged in that politics. I've always talked about there must be citizens' participation. We must begin to look at the legislative arm of government, because that is the bedrock of democracy. That's where laws are being made. That's this whole issue where INEC just sits down and chill. Even when they are giving orders, they don't obey orders because they have they have the courts that will say gleefully to petitioners that, you can't expect to get anything from INEC, even though they were the occupiers of the election. That has to stop. And so you must have the situation whereby when the burden of proof should in a way also go to INEC to be able to say, let them come and prove that indeed they did give free, fair, credible election. And so for you to be able to do that is the legislative arm of government that is going to do that. And if we're able to get people who are competent, have capacity, have character, who are patriotic, who want the best for Nigeria, get into office, then they will begin to make those laws that we be for the betterment of Nigeria. Absolutely. This whole issue of you are having tribunal, let me just round up on this, I'll quickly do that. This whole issue of you are having tribunal going on while somebody is already sworn into office, it has to stop. And so we must have, and it's the lawmakers that are going to amend the Electoral Act and do the needful.
It's about the mindset of the operatives, rather than saying, because you will end up with a 1,000-page piece of paper, right, called a law, which will be passed by a National Assembly and signed. But we live in a normal human society where you cannot anticipate all the issues and challenges that will come up. And somebody must always take advantage. Why are we always taking advantage to game the system? Okay? You say it is not in the law. What exactly, on what basis did INEC collect this money? Taxpayers' money. Blew it up unapologetically, stop the parties from getting proper access to the records they need, and all we hear, the judges who even gave the order, never at any time we are angry enough to try to cite INEC officials for contempt. They were playing on. Nothing was wrong. So we can't make progress based on this. You see, let me explain to you. We all went studied law, went to the university, read jurisprudence, read evidence, read adjectival law. The truth is that any position you want to take in law, you can find a justification. Whether it is justice, whether it is about what the people expect of you. Listen carefully. Judges are public servants like every other person. They are supposed to interpret the law, not in a vacuum. to advance society. Otherwise, why were we blaming military dictators who made laws, okay, that we did not like? If we go on just this rabid positivism, oh, show me where it is written. Buhari, the former president who handed over to him, shot people because they were involved in drugs. And the trial, nobody can even verify whether it was a proper fair trial under those military decrees. And before we could say Jack, he killed them. Now we have a situation. The Constitution never anticipated that somebody who will be nominated by a political party will have a history of forfeiting money based on involvement in drug proceedings.
It's a civil matter.
No. It's not about that. Now, official proceedings are not civil matters per se. They are a hybrid between civil and criminal matters. Okay, look at the Desiani case we have in Nigeria. You are suspecting, the government says, this money we found in your account or this property is beyond your lawful and legitimate income. Come and show us, it must have been the proceeds of an unlawful activity, a crime.
So the character
come and show us how you got it. They do an interim order, which they didn't give you the opportunity to come. They now advertise and invite you to come and show how you legitimately got this money. And if you, once you're unable to do that, the court now says this must be the process of crime or illegality. And so the money is forfeited. So to tell me that it's simple civil proceedings is reading the law upside down. We all went to school. The fact that you became a judge doesn't, yes, you have a duty to perform, you have the authority, but it doesn't give you any special learning to turn very simple, straightforward things. Let me tell you something. Whenever you see a professional becoming extremely technical, speaking highfalutin Latinate jargons, is a sign that he doesn't understand his duty, because whatever you can say and whatever you want to express can be done in simple is and was that doesn't bewilder.
It's not legal jargon.
It doesn't need to bewilder anybody, because everybody's bewildered as how a man who could not contest the forfeiture of his $460,000, and you say there is no blame. He says you must be arraigned, you must listen. Why did he not contest that? The Constitution didn't anticipate that kind of thing, that a man will be the president of Nigeria with what? Nobody knows when he was born, conflicting documents, nobody knows the schools he attended, conflicting. No, we can't continue behaving like that. When you get to the international airport, they say Nigerians this way, step aside, you complain. How did you arrive at that thing? So this is beyond just abstruse legalism, okay? The petitioner failed. As if to say all we are coming was like the petitioners had to be rebuked.
The details of the spiritual is that if the person you thought would have become the president, the country would be on fire by now. Listen, because there's time to tell the truth, and there's time to make things clear. There's time to make noise, and there's time to go straight to the point. When you go straight to the point, the layman can understand and follow the things of the Spirit. So wherever you are, pay attention to this prophecy and hear the conclusion of the matter. There's a reason why Peter Obi could not become the president. There's a reason. But I don't want people to now begin to crucify the major prophet of God and begin to say, oh, major prophet of God, what are you saying? Have you been sold out? Are you sold out? What happened? What's going on? I don't want that to be. I want you to understand. The understanding of a common man or human is not the same with the understanding of God. God's understanding is quite different from human understanding. Nigeria as a country has gotten to a point that now God wants to mathematically and spiritually and the high wisdom to repair things and make the people of this country to now get what they are looking for without any fracas or killing and destroying. Now, if our dear beloved Peter Obi had become the president, for example, maybe during the election and they said Peter Obi is the winner and he wins and finally they swore him in, by now the whole country would have been on fire. Some people will say, "Oh, major prophet, crucify him." Don't crucify me. I am not among the people. The reason why Peter Obi could not be the president or win the election, I'm explaining it to you now so that you will know what's called the prophetic digestion and what's called the supernatural expository in the realm of the spirit. Because I am not a prophet that want to speak flesh. I am a prophet that is ready to go spiritual and detail what would have happened. Because Peter Obi would have entered into the seat as a president, and the moment he's declared as a president, there will be an instant overtake and coup. And the moment there's instant overtake and coup, it will result to war. And resulting to war would have put this country on fire by now. Ask me why would that have happened? Why? Ask me why. So I will explain to you what I am saying in the spiritual war that you are not seeing, because the eye of man is not the same thing with the eye of God, because the eye of God is the eye that can see tomorrow and tell you what is contained in the tomorrow. You saw the election, you saw everything. As I told you, all of them come to pass. Now watch out. The reason why Peter Obi was not made the president is very clear. Number one, it would have put the country on fire by now. Why? Because the people will never be patient with him. They will never ever be patient with him. You that is watching me will be patient with him. I, major prophet of God, will be patient with him. But the people will never be patient with him. It will have what's called a high volume of opposition that would have blasted the country. Everybody by now is in Cotonou, is in Togo, is in Lomé, is there in Ghana, is there in Cameroon, is there in other countries. You would have fled the country by now. But God, who is the all-knowing, allowed what played out to play out, because God wants to help you. God wants to help you. God wants you to remain his child, and God doesn't want us to begin to run helter-skelter. That is why God allowed what happened to happen. Now, fast forward to the election time. Don't forget that when I came on board here, I told you all that was going to play out. I told you all was going to play it out. I told you, I said, the election that is coming, look at the position of everybody. You will not say that you didn't hear it. If you didn't hear it, go back to December 31st night and go and open our channel. You will see the prophecy there. So now listen. Everybody that is dancing now or celebrating, oh yeah, the judgment have been passed, that should pray. Nigeria should pray. This is the time for everybody to wake up. People that need to support the president should support him. People that need to stand firm should stand firm, because democracy truncated. Marakato brahadi koso. Democracy truncated. Remember the 5 men I told you about when I enter in the kingdom of the spiritual. Don't forget about the 5 men I told you about. If you're among the people who don't pay attention to listen to major prophet of God, start to pay attention today. Don't joke with me. Don't play with what God is doing here. Man, no human being can take this by himself. You give a prophecy since 2014. You have never given a prophecy that failed. You will not only give Africa, you give Nigeria, you give the whole world, you give village, you give governorship, you give presidential, you give everything, you give in the congregation, you give everywhere. Is this by human power? Is it the sense? Am I saying them because of my head? I'm saying that because the most educated man? No. The reason is because God doesn't want his people to be in darkness. God wants you people to be aware of the unfolding before they begin to unfold. And so when I tell you something, when I begin to prophesy and begin to tell you what is written in the realm of the spirit, don't doubt me, because I am saying it very, very clear. Remember, I told you, I said, this is what's going to happen. Because tomorrow you will hear, and people will say, I am fed up. I am fed up with everything. I'm just fed up. And then, well, let it be. Let the whole matter go. In fact, I'm fed up. And then some people will pick up their international passport and clean the back, clean the front like this, and enter plane and jet out of this country to go to other countries to stay. They will stay that country. They will not come back here until 3 years, when they will come back for campaign. Write what I am saying. Take your book, take your Bible and your paper and write it. Write it down. down so that you are among the people who will tell others that you were there live. So remember, few weeks ago, like last 2 months after a month of April, when I was telling you, I said this issue of thrust out, I told you that's what's going to happen, because the interpretation of the things in the physical are not the way you are looking at them. You can see a man walking on the road, but if God should open your eyes, you will see that that man you think is walking on the road is actually crawling. That's how the spiritual world is. And so I want you to know how the spiritual world is. It's better I teach you about the spiritual world so that as a man or a woman or a believer or a Christian, you can help yourself to be spiritual enough to understand the spiritual world and how the things of the spirit, how they work, so you can be able to acquaint yourself with the things of the spirit and walk as a spiritual being on the face of the earth.
Let me start from the congratulations. There have been congratulations. Members of the APC have applauded it, and also there have been rebuke. Labour Party said they rejected the result of this judgment while the judgment was even being read. The PDP said they were going to go to the Supreme Court. And there are many areas that we need to tackle for the Supreme Court. And take, for instance, the issue of the 25%. I think there still needs to be more clarity. So I was saying now that Abuja is the 37th, state, and what is even the intention and the thoughts of the framers of the Constitution in the first place? Another question is, why did INEC take us through this merry-go-round as Nigerians constantly, with many copious evidence, saying that they were going to have an electronic process, only for electronic process not to hold, because there's been another report that 3 days to the elections, they said that they were just going to take a picture of the result and put it on the IRF portal. Why did INEC come on this show to fight even against the National Assembly when they said they were not going to be part of electronic transmission? Because that was what made a lot of people say they want to get interested in the process again. And when you look at it, the process of our elections that have constantly suffered massive levels of voter apathy, the cure will have been the electronic transmission of results. So when the court also made the argument that INEC isn't mandatorily bound to transmit electoral results to the IRF. Let's take a look at Section 64, Section 4B of the Electoral Act. That is, a collation officer, a returning officer, at an election shall collate and announce the result of an election, subject to his or her verification and confirmation that the votes stated on the collated result are correct and consistent with the vote or result recorded and transmitted directly from polling units under Section 6, Section 4 of this act. So there still needs to be more clarity. So why did INEC say we're going to do this? And because there was also another report where there were doubts about using the electronic transmission, and INEC came out to reiterate in another letter and piece about that. I think that letter was authored by Festus Okoye Esquire on the 11th of November 2022, where there was an alleged plot to abandon the transmission of polling unit result to IRF portal. And in the letter, the INEC said attention has been drawn to section of the media alleging that our plans to rig 2023 election, abandoning direct real-time transmission to INEC portal. And he said the IRF is one of the innovations introduced by the Commission to ensure the integrity and credibility of results in Nigeria. It's therefore inconceivable that the Commission will turn around and undermine its own innovations. So, all of this conundrum, INEC said it was going to do something to bring back, because if we're saying that INEC can use any process to collate reports, and if, like the court said, it means that we've gone back to the EU days of elections, where it could be a do or die at the polling unit, and the truth is that there's a big problem of the burden of proof. And don't get me wrong, when the judges talked about it, the burden of proof is always hard. And the judges did eviscerate the petitioners on the burden of proof, and also vis-a-vis the Evidence Act, because it's quite difficult to prove. Take, for instance, I am not sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, that any political party in Nigeria has polling unit by polling unit EC8A forms for over 50,000 polling units. Where are you going to get? Your strong room has to be very strong under election conditions where your polling agents might not even take a proper picture of it and things like that. It's always difficult. And a lot of people felt that the IRF was going to be the basis to be able to actually authenticate the report. and look at this result. And there was a glitch in the process, also proving that is quite very difficult. So, as always, in every case, the burden of proof as regards our electoral jurisprudence and the idea of, that there's a presumption of regularity on INEC is also a very big challenge. So, proving is very, very difficult in the court process. And that's why, to be able to deepen our jurisprudence, we'd like to see, some parties are saying they're going to go to court, congrats to the winner. We'd like to see how all of this pans out of the Supreme Court so we can learn more and have this argument. But, a couple of things, Nigerians, there needs a need to go back to the National Assembly as regards fine-tuning electoral laws. It's an ongoing process.
This is Bod TV Bod. In case the first time you come here, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more uploads.